Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. I want to share a few thoughts about the probably the world's most popular hobby, gardening. I do think that many people don't get as much pleasure per hour as they could. I want to share, normally you don't talk about efficiency in terms of gardening because it's recreation, but I want to talk about how to derive maximum pleasure for minimum time. I want to start with an odd comparison. Rose is considered the America's most or favorite plant, and yet, except in California on the coasts, it's more pain than it's worth. Normally requires spraying for black spot, mildew, and rust, and now there are these new diseases called rose rosette disease and downy mildew, and so although I have two commercial roses on the market. I've bred roses and I've grown hundreds. I do live in the favored Bay Area, favorite climate that is Northern California, and even there, I believe that it is rarely worth the effort. Perhaps you might want to grow one rose that has the unique qualities that only a rose has. That is the classic rose hybridy form, and perhaps its fragrance. Um, and let's see. I think I'm trying to think of the name of the one rose that I think I would like. It's new, Pinker Bell. That's what it is. Pinker Bell, Belle. Might be worth a shot. Perfect form, healthy, doesn't need to be sprayed in many parts of the country. I can't guarantee, but lots of cutting size flowers, so you can cut them for the house. Fragrant, perfect form, as I said. But except for that, as absurd as it sounds, for most landscaping or gardening purposes, you're going to get more happiness out of geraniums. And they have done, because they are the biggest selling plants, the hybridizers, notably Syngenta, which you've never heard of, but is a major hybridizer of plants, has been working like hell to come up with plants that are, instead of that ugly orangish red geranium, dark, rich red geranium, and they've got them now in different sizes, quite compact, called Moxie, for the first time this year. It's coming out new in 2019. Moxie Deep Red, it's called, or Dark Red. Moxie Dark Red, and for a larger one, Calliope Deep Red. Those are fantastic. They will bloom nonstop, beautifully in quantity, with no spraying, no effort, moderate water, just sun, from the beginning of your, in April or May, all the way through frost. And they're cheap, and they're cheap. You can get them I know a lot of people who are, especially here in the Bay Area, don't like big box stores, but Home Depot normally is the best source of them, because they're not only cheap but available in those leading hybrids. Believe me, people think geranium is a geranium and all the difference is color. That's completely untrue. There's a big range of how well they perform over the growing season. So trust me about that Calliope Dark Red. Actually, at Home Depot, they call the same rose, the same geranium, Big Red. So look for Big Red. If you're looking for something large, that's probably more like 2.5 feet wide by 18 inches tall. And if you're interested in something smaller, more like 14 by 14, 12 by 16, something like that, go for Moxie Dark Red. Now I want to talk a little bit about some other kinds of plants that are unusually rewarding to grow. Of course, and here's where I am in the mainstream, tomatoes, of course, really are terrific. And while I am prone to chasing the latest hybrids, there are a few that have stood the test of time that in many ways are better and more reliable performers in much of the country than some of the latest and greatest. So Early Girl is a classic, good-tasting tomato, much better than what you'll get in the supermarket, and it produces fruits in just roughly 60 days after you put out the plant, maybe 55. And then Big Beef is another classic red tomato. I know there's a big fad now for the what do you call them? The heirlooms. But the heirlooms very often are disease prone, produce very sparsely, and really, in some ways, the flavor is not as great as is touted. For example, they always tout Cherokee Purple, and they what are they? That Amish variety that I'm not remembering, but I would advise you, unless you have a sentimental reason to want to go for heirlooms, to go for some of the more modern hybrids. There is, by the way, a cherry tomato that I consider fabulous if you can deal with the fact that it's orange and not red, and it's called Orange Peruche, Paruchag, which is just fantastic. Best flavor I've ever had in any tomato. So, but tomatoes are really rewarding because after the first couple weeks, and it doesn't require deep planting. So if you're not, you have a bad back or whatever, you can buy these little seedlings in 6-pack. For example, Early Girl is available for $3 or $4 for a 6-pack. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can get them even for less than that at your local big box store. And you can just dig tomatoes don't need particularly great soil. So you could just, dig out take one spadeful out and mix it. Maybe take one foot of the garden soil and then replace it with maybe half some kind of compost, whatever the hell you happen to have around, along with half of regular soil. Stick it in there, and stick the little seedling in there. Plant it in deep because they'll grow roots all the way up to the leaves. So don't plant it high, plant it deep. And then water it, keep it well watered for the first couple of weeks. Then there are some people who don't water at all after the first month because they believe the flavor is concentrated better by not watering. I have had mixed results with that. I do lighten the watering over the second and third months, but don't stop watering. In part because if you water very little, you may have very concentrated tasting fruit, but the plant will be so ugly that you want it to look reasonably good too. And I have not found a great decrement in flavor by just slowly reducing water over the month 2 and month 3 of growing your tomatoes. Speaking of water, of course, you can save a hell of a lot of time with an automated watering system. But I have a balance. I've got an automated watering system, but there are some plants that require supplemental water. And I also get a certain amount of pleasure out of, walking by each of my various plants and hand watering. Not only do I provide exactly the precise amount of water, but it forces a type A like me to stop and slow down and actually look at the plants, which gives me some pleasure too. Now I want to talk a little bit about flowers. Annuals get a bad reputation. I'm not sure why. There's some environmental reason, because you've got to buy a new plant every year. But they're so small and cheap, and sold in 6-packs for $3 a piece. I think that both marigolds and zinnias are amazing for annuals. I particularly like the Bonanza series. Bonanza Yellow is a remarkable little yellow rose available in all the big box stores, 6 for $3 or $4. There are in the zinnias, the Magellan series is terrific. Dreamland series is terrific. Again, real small, often available in 6-packs, which again is the really cheapest way to buy. Only the nurseries benefit from you buying 1 gallons or larger in those things. Look for the 6-packs. They may hide them in the back of the nursery, but it's worth doing. And in shade impatiens, nothing like impatiens. There was a couple of years ago, there was a problem with what are called fuchsia mites, or some other kind of mite, little terror that destroyed things, or was it downy mildew? Anyway, it has passed. So impatiens are back on the shelves and are great in your favorite colors. I happen to like purpley colors. Other people, you can get them in white, in pink, in red. And the only downside is they do require a fair amount of regular watering, and they will only do well in shade or semi-shade is fine. And again, available in 6-packs, cheap. All of those are really the best ways to get a lot of pleasure for minimum effort. Now, if you are fortunate to live where I do in an area that doesn't get any frost, there are some amazing things that you can grow. My favorite is bougainvillea. Bougainvillea, even this, not even maybe especially the species called Bougainvillea spectabilis, is a purple thing that blooms amazingly. It's like a 20-foot huge thing that can grow along the side of a warm wall, a sunny wall on your house. I've had it for 20 years. It's a showstopper. People stop and take pictures of it. And it requires no maintenance. It is very drought. After the first year, it is drought resistant. I also have a variety called Thai Delight, which is just an exotic pink and white bicolor bougainvillea that is to die for. Bird of Paradise is another gorgeous thing. The fancy name is Strelitzia. By the way, since I'm just talking into the webcam and not showing you pictures, you can Google these names that I've given you, and use the images tab for Google, and you will find in Google search, and you will see great pictures of them. So Strelitzia, that is Bird of Paradise, is as exotic a flower as you will ever see in your life. It's just orange and bright blue and the shape of a bird. It's just unbelievable in quantity. And no maintenance plant, no spraying required. It's very drought tolerant after the first year. Be patient with it. The first year won't do much. It mainly grows roots. But it is, if you are in a frost-free climate, there's no tropical effect as beautiful as Bird of Paradise. And I think that's where I want to stop. As usual, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy. I usually do check my these videos to see the comments. So if you've got a question, I will try to answer it. I am not some master certified nurseryman, but I have been a serious amateur gardener for 50 years now, and I know a few things, and I'm not trying to sell anything, so at least you know the advice is purely altruistic. Anyway, I do thank you for watching, and if you like it, certainly I welcome you sharing it so that more people can watch this if they feel it's appropriate. In any case, I'm Marty Nemko.